What's going on, boys? It's Flauz. In this video, we're going to go over a really brief description of economy, what to be buying, how to kind of think about your rounds and what you're going to be doing for the outcome of it, and how that's going to go into planning and pre-planning for each round. So when we talk about health and armor, I think most of the time if you're on the T side, you should be buying head armor just because if you do get shot in the head by CT, it's going to be a one-shot if you're not buying head armor. So keep that in mind. Like, it's almost always gives you an advantage when you're trying to go for those headshots as you're swinging out into different sites. That being said, if you have low economy, right, it might be worth it to not pick up that head armor and pick up a smoke if you're going to be going for a slower play around the map. That smoke can, give your team more space. You can start to work different areas based off of that smoke. But if you don't actually know any lineups or anything like that, it might be worth it just to buy some head armor and AK and get out there and just try to hit a headshot, right? But I think most of the time, if I can just barely afford a smoke and I can't get head armor because of that, that's totally fine. I'm going to be the one who is picking up a smoke. If you're the first person rushing into a site too, let's say my team calls for an A rush, right? And I'm the first person going out long. It doesn't really make sense for me to be buying a full nade set if I can't even throw it effectively as I'm trying to get out here. And I'm taking basically a 50-50 duel, right? As I get to this position. If I do go down, it's not really a big deal. I can still have that 2k that I could have spent in those nades and save that for the next round so that I can probably get a second buy going, right? But let's say I'm the first person out and I die instantly. My team can maybe pick up one nade, right? If I have a full utility set and I die, 3 of those nades are just completely gone. So it's not really worth it unless you're the person who, effectively drops all your nades as you're running out. Okay, you take that 50-50 duel, and then your team can still use those nades through the round, right? That's something a little bit different, a little more high level. But when you're really thinking about okay, what am I going to be using these different nades for throughout the round? That's when you start to get into what should I buy based off of the round and based off of our economy. I think it almost always is worth it to get a smoke first, then flashes, then either an HE or a molly. Obviously Molotovs are the most expensive, but if you're buying a smoke first, most of the time that's going to be worth it for your team. Flashes are kind of go hand in hand depending on what plays you want to go for. If you're going for slow plays around the map though, I think some flashes, some smokes are always a great way. Smokes just always kind of let you delay more time once you get onto the site. So even if you're in a crappy buy and you're all on pistols, if you take the site and throw a smoke here, you have enough to refresh over and over, they might have to force the CTs to make a bad play through it. So that's kind of what I like to think about when I'm thinking about smokes. It lets you control the game in a weird way that other nades don't really allow, right? For HEs, I find a lot of success by just being that second player in, not being the entry. Let's say my team shot some guy on the back of site. I might be this person who's right behind them, peeks out, and throws a nade like this. I might be getting that extra 50 damage, that extra 30 damage to actually secure that kill as we're hitting the site. And it just makes it really awkward for the CTs because one, they're slowed by that nade, and they might just go down and give your team a free kind of kill while you're hitting the site. So keep that in mind. I think nades are also really good if you're on a low buy for softening players up. Let's say you're on the CT side and you don't have a great buy. People are running up cat. You can throw a nade, peek out, spam them in the body a little bit more, and have a more success rate on just getting kills that way. I don't think a lot of people utilize HE grenades in the way that they should. I think it's a very effective nade, but people kind of tend to just put it off and not worry about it too much, or they're trying to pre-nade stuff where they don't even actually know if there's someone there. Let's say it's early in the round, you're going for a nade here, or maybe you're nading car, right, without knowing if anyone's even actually there. Yeah, that can be great, but at the same time, could that nade be more effective maybe later in the round by nading elevator or nading deep cat, right? So gotta think about stuff like that. I think pre-flashes or throwing flashes early in the round are a lot less effective than if you're kind of utilizing it to peek into different areas on the T side. So let's say we're peeking through mid. If I have someone, top mid throwing a flash for my team to run out through mid, that's a much better flash than if I was just to kind of throw one out mid. Okay, we delay. Maybe there's an opera, so I'm trying to flash him off. I throw that and then I slowly start to work back up. The opera can still re-peek into me, right? They can get utility, they can get their smokes out and whatever nades they want to stall me again. And then that flash is basically useless. I always like to use my flashes to either peek into different angles or help my team get into different angles. So always try to utilize flashes because they are a very effective tool. If you can't really throw a flash for your team, maybe just save it for later in the round. It's a very, very good way to just kind of win rounds and get free round wins just from one piece of utility that's $200, right? So that's kind of what I like to use throughout the rounds and how I think about different nades. Smokes are always good. Even if you're on an eco, it can be that thing that makes it really awkward for the CTs to keep their advantage with that long range. You have to force them into tougher fights. That might be beneficial for you if you're using a pistol or something, right? So that's kind of how I think about nades. Molotovs, obviously, you know how to use them. You just kind of burn out different angles, but that's how I like to kind of just think about nades, right? So talking about health and armor, if you're on the T side and you can't afford, head armor, just make sure you're playing angles that are gonna force the CTs to spam you a little more. So like maybe you're not just playing headshot angles because it's not very as like I mean it's definitely effective, but just think like you can still get one shot if you're playing headshot angles. You might as well be the person who's running through, peeking angles wider, taking those fights that are a little more awkward for the CTs, like playing an off angle, making them try to spam you. So that's kind of how I like to think about head armor. At the end of the day, if you don't have head armor, you're probably gonna get one tap if you're playing against better players. As far as low health goes, if you're in like a situation where it's like a clutch situation, you're lower health, always be aiming for those headshots. Try to catch people off guard, and also try to just catch people when they're not really thinking that you're going to peek into them, right? Like, that's kind of the biggest thing when you're low HP, because you do have a disadvantage. So you kind of have to find different ways to win the round besides just 50-50 duels, especially if you're exposing your body, right? Like if someone's here and I'm 12 HP and they peek around the corner, most of the time, if I don't hit this headshot immediately, there's a really good chance that I'm losing that round, right? So kind of think about that. Like, can I hit this headshot? Is it really awkward? Is it worth it to peek this window? This is kind of a tougher shot as well. I might get spammed out. I might want to play back here and just kind of look for that headshot if anyone's peeking up here. Or I can just play in different angles where it's only my head being exposed, right, as I'm taking these fights. So keep that in mind. Always play based off of your health. Don't be playing like super hyper aggressive if you have teammates that are low health as well. Like, keep that in mind, that they can go down super easily. Always keep that in the back of your mind of, okay, how is my team's HP? If I'm like the healthiest person, does it make sense for me to be going for the risky plays, right? That's basically it. I hope you guys learned something in this video and can utilize it in your own gameplay. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.